I come across somebody that's just really boring and lame, just like, demon! Not a perfect person. There's many things I wish I didn't do, but I continue learning. I never can quite describe a brew, but not so with our Commander show. That I just want you to know. I found a reason for me to be able to record when tipsy. So I'll pass me another few. How about another brew?
All right, the reason who was staying.
That was a long one.
But I did not know you had that kind of range in singing.
that was a little tough. I have to say that is actually a request from Nate. Nate has been giving us a lot of...
I'm all right with that, yeah.
So the funny thing, too, is I changed his. He gave me the request.
You should probably change it back to what he...
No. Well, the last couple lines when I did it, how to be able to record when tipsy, he had Tracy in there. And so like I even got like Cindy over and I was like, I don't know what he's talking about, Tracy. And she's like, I think he's trying to talk about he said his mother, it was a mother-in-law. So he was singing it like it was his mother-in-law. I believe. I think, Nate, that's what you were trying to say there, because then he sent me an email. It was like, I'll never include your wife and kids and stuff like that. So I think he was including his mother-in-law. Gotcha. And I was like, oh, I get it, because I was like looking up Urban Dictionary. I was like, do I not know what Tracy means? So,
could be just shorthand for Tracy Morgan.
So, welcome to Commander Smiths.
We are the Commander Smiths.
I am Adam Smith.
And I am Lowery Smith.
This is episode... Oh, wait. Don't worry.
We're bad at this. We're cousins.
No, we're not. That's not what happens after. Don't worry. We're bad at this. That's going to be the new side slogan. Don't worry. We're bad at this.
I dropped my pen.
You did drop your pen. Oh, man. So, yeah. Episode 54, like I was saying. Hey, but...
Glad you looked that up.
I was singing about another brew. Can you pass me another brew?
Oh, yeah. Here you go.
I do want to have
poured
some of this.
This one's called Make IPA Piney Again.
This is probably the quickest we've done this, maybe. Like right after we see the episode that we have it. What's it from? Where is it from? Oh, gosh. Okay. So this says Make IP Piney Again. And
IPA Piney Again. Yeah, that's the name of it.
Yeah,
it's a pine cone with
Donald Trump hat and hair on it.
Yep.
It's pretty...
I will tell you.
Oh, it's Lupulin.
Yeah, Lupulin, which is up
nice.
the road from here.
Yeah, it's
in
right
Big
by
Lake.
my house.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
It's in Big Lake.
Big Lake, okay.
Yeah, so it's 10 minutes away.
10, yeah, all right.
That's by my house. Everything's 10 minutes away.
All I can tell you is that I'm not going to want to drink it for at least another 2 years after this. So,
cheers.
Cheers.
Tastes shitty. No, I'm just kidding.
There's like a bitter taste in your mouth joke somewhere in here too. All right, no politics.
Let's move on there. Let's get away from that.
So we're gonna try something out on this episode. I wrote a love letter to one of my cards that I really like.
Yep.
And we'll see how that goes.
I'm surprised it isn't the card. It isn't the card that I thought it would be.
It isn't Locust God, no.
I thought it was going to be Locust God. And then our next segment after that will be our favorite mechanic. We're both kind of picked out a favorite thing that we like.
We'll just kind of talk about it within Commander and why we like it.
And then we move into Lower Time with Larry.
Yeah, I actually kind of forgot about that too. So yeah, they've been posting... more articles for the guilds from Ravnica Allegiance. I kind of got behind on that, so I'm going to talk about rakdos today.
Well, it's interesting coming into what is going to be into the next set. I mean, there's a lot of hype with War of the Spark and all that stuff, so it's kind of nice to know.
And I have a feeling none of this works with that.
No, it won't.
It does not lead into it at all.
No, but it is good to hear the background leading up to...
What's going on.
Yeah. And then we get into, if you haven't heard this week, they made an announcement, Wizards made an announcement about a potential, quote-unquote, Mulligan rule. Which wouldn't affect us as much, but we'll kind of discuss that in that part. And we're going to kind of discuss what cards are going to be affected the most. So ones that are potentially good specs.
Yeah, and then that'll dovetail right into some specs of the week.
But first, we got to get into... I kind of actually wrote out a list of things.
Be a little bit more professional now.
So one thing, if you didn't notice, we're a day late, and why is that?
We're a dollar short.
No.
Oh, weather. So we had kind of like
a blizzard warning.
Yeah.
We actually are under a blizzard warning, which the Twin Cities doesn't normally get. It's normally the outer lane suburbs that can get it, maybe, but normally the Twin Cities doesn't get the blizzard warning.
Down south Minnesota, interstates are shut down, major roads, highways, and like if you were outside, they were going to ticket you for driving.
I had a drift about 3 feet up in front of my garage this morning, like in front of my garage, and then at the end of my driveway. I took my wife's car because she had off today, and I had to go turn in our taxes and all that. We have a tax guy we got to go to. And I was like, I'm just going to gun it with Cindy's car. She has a Chevy Cruze. I bottomed out. Yeah, I got stuck where the front of the car was still in the garage, and the back was bottom out. So I had to call Cindy because I couldn't get out because there's a snowbank. I couldn't get out of the door. And I was like, can you come save me? So she had to come and shovel me out of the garage.
So Minnesota extreme weather hits again.
Yeah. So we decided to just delay things because Larry is driving quite a ways and the roads were not the best with the wind conditions and how cold it got. It just didn't seem smart to do it. So
thank you for waiting for us.
Leading into that, if you are following us on Twitter, we gave out
Oh, that was a good segue. Yeah. I didn't actually know you were going for that.
But if you follow us on Twitter, you would know that we actually canceled it a day. So that's a couple things with Twitter. We are doing a couple new things with Twitter as well. We'll share news. We've always done that. Mm-hmm. I started last week was...
You're starting to post your proxies.
So I'm going to do a proxy of the week, kind of print or show you what it looks like, the proxy that I made. Not necessarily made that week, but a proxy that I've made myself. Yeah. Lowery's also going to post.
Generally, if I'm going to get a beer, I'm going to call the segment Not Sharing with Adam.
Yeah, that's not fair. I was actually really excited because you put a sour on there. And I was like, maybe
it was really good.
You're such an ass.
Good. So I brought up a beer that I got in Phoenix, and I can't find it here in Minnesota. I really like it. It's a brewery out in Portland, Oregon called Cascade Brewing.
Thanks for sharing, you dick.
Yeah, Not Sharing with Adam. That will be on Twitter from me.
I actually like that name. I am crossing that out. I had Beer of the Week on here, but now it's going to be called Not Sharing with Adam.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. And then, as you know, other things in suspects, if we have something we think is going to go...
Which you did this week with... that one that we always talk about.
Crater of Behemoth?
Yeah, that card.
Yeah, that one. And that's actually what kind of lead in foreshadowing, not backshadowing my one of my specs, because it's spiked, but there's still some deals you can find out there. Mm-hmm. So that's one reason to follow us on Twitter. Another thing you can do is go to YouTube, subscribe to us, liking our pages, subscribing.
That helps us a ton.
And it's a free support to us. Like we aren't doing any Patreon yet, which that is in the works, but...
Yeah, well...
the free thing...
I looked at the page today.
Oh, good job. Yeah. Homework
Patreon,
complete.
Yeah. But YouTube, technically more important at this point.
Yeah, so really, the more subscribers we get, the more likes and all that stuff, the better. And if we get enough of them, potentially that can pay us in a way, make money off of that. Mm-hmm. It gets the word around for us, our show and everything like that, the more you like it. The proxy video... I don't know, the first month, it just was crawling with views. And now it jumps, I know it's not a lot, but it jumps like 20, 40 every other day. So it's been actually going quicker than it did in that first month that it was out. I don't know if it's our listeners or if people are actually...
I think it's gaining listeners for us on the podcast here, so... appreciate it if you're in from YouTube land. Then
the other thing on YouTube, we'll also have battle boxes. We have all the other videos.
The actual visual part. And we're talking with another group. We're trying to start recording games with them. And so that'll be on there too.
We don't know what to call it yet. We have battle decks, dueling decks. We don't know what we want to call it yet.
If you got a good idea, let us know.
Yeah, actually, if you do have a good idea. It'd be nice to incorporate the Commander Smith somehow, but I don't know how you would do that necessarily.
Because it's another podcast that we're going to play with as well.
Right. So. And then the last thing, like we've talked about, so this is the longest time we've done plugs.
Yeah,
plugs
look at this.
Look at us, 10 minutes in there. But
professional.
This is the first time. We'll go through it quicker each week. We'll
get better at it, I promise.
Yeah. But, this is kind of just doing the breakdown. Emails, of course, you can send us song suggestions, specs. Actually, that's what Nate actually sent some spec ideas
Aussie
this
Nate?
week. Yep.
I'm going to start calling him Aussie Nate
Aussie
if you
Nate.
didn't notice.
That's his name now, Aussie Nate. Also, Dex questions or my favorite if you want to send us something that we were wrong with. Lowery was wrong.
It's called We Were Wrong, not Lowery was wrong. Jesus.
And then eventually we will have... Lowery's going to be working on our Patreon stuff. So if you really wanted to support us, you can go that route and give us some monies that we can...
Yeah, we'll set up Patreon, and I promise I'll have it up by next week.
And I think I did mention before... But we'll go into details what each level will do when
we'll figure it out once we have it together.
Yeah. So, anyways, we should move into our first segment.
The love letter.
The love letter by Lowery. Well, this time it'll be Lowery. I'll do some at some point.
Well, sorry. Yeah, and also if you have a card that you want to write a love letter to, email that over to us, and if it's solid, I'll read it. Not Adam, just me.
Just Lowery. Lowery's the love. Your lore time with Lowery. Love letters by Lowery. I think that's actually what it should be. It's alliteration, so it's all Lowery.
You can be Latham.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't if I don't want to do it.
Yeah. All right, so Lowery. Let's hear your nice little love letter.
All right. Dear Mom, you have protected me for so long as you birthed me into this crazy game called Magic. You went from saving my child of Gaia to becoming a star in Legacy. You can protect so many decks and so many of my sibling players because you are the mom of Magic. Thank you so much, Mother of Ruins, for the work you've done to make Magic a safer game. That's it.
Oh, man.
So obviously I'm talking about Mother of Ruins, which is a card from Urza's Legacy.
Did you think this segment would go any longer than you just reading that card?
Yeah, no, we're talking. So Mother of Ruins is 1 white for a 1/1 human. It taps to give any creature you control protection from any color you want. And this card, this was one of my first cards ever starting to play Magic. As I said, like Child of Gaia, which is basically unplayable at this point. I loved that card too, but I played Mother of Ruins in a ton of my white decks, and I still really like it in Commander.
This is about as long as I thought this segment would last. It shouldn't even be a segment.
So I just want to say I love you, Mother of Ruins, and I hope some people out there check out the card.
No, you
have a good time.
Mother of Ruins. You by far played this card the most out of anybody, and it is a great card because the protection spells, it protects it from people targeting it, but also allows you to get through if you're playing
creatures through on a monocolor.
If you're trying to get an attack through or whatever, and it also protects itself. So that's kind of
protects on blocking. If you, it just kind of messes. It's an onboard ability to mess with combat as well, like in protection. It does a lot of work for that little mana investment.
In white, if you're creature-based or if you're wanting your commander out, this is the perfect card to have in there. I mean, if you want your commander out and surviving, sometimes your commander isn't as important. It's your 99 that does all the work, and it doesn't matter.
And it still does that.
Yeah. So this, definitely is a great card to have. It's kind of annoying because when you see it on the battlefield, a lot of times I try to kill whatever I want to kill as soon as that comes in, because I'm like, well, won't be able to touch it next turn because Lowery's just going to give it protection from blah 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 blah.
I'm assuming you're a fish underwater at that point. Blah blah blah.
Merfolk.
Yeah.
Merman.
Classic.
All right, so is that it for Lowery's love letter?
I think that's all we need.
All right. Moving into the next segment. That lasted, 3-4 minutes? All right, that was good.
Good to have that down. That can just fit in there in the future.
It's funny because giving you guys some background information of this episode, going into yesterday, we had the love letter and then this next segment, and I text Lowery early in the day. I was like, dude, I don't think we need to think of something else because it's going to be like 10 minutes long.
If you had one, that would have been like not 10 minutes long.
And I was like,
you learn.
Larry's like, oh, no, we're good. We have the love letter, and then we have our favorite mechanics, and then specs. And I was like, I didn't say anything. And then you text like 10 minutes later, like, yeah, I think we do need to add something else. So anyways, let's move into our favorite mechanics. So since you just did the love letter, I'll start with this.
Turn order.
My favorite mechanic actually is Scry.
I don't know if this necessarily has to be our favorite mechanic, but a mechanic that we really like.
Yeah, it might be mine also might be what yours is too. That's in my top 2 card. If I pick my top 2, it's that, and I was knocking stuff over. The computer was about to shut down, and I'm like, almost knocked the beer over on the keyboard.
That would have been worse. So Scry.
Scry is I think my favorite mechanic. I was trying to decide.
Is that why we did top manipulation last week?
Maybe.
It could be why. All right.
But no, I mean, like, Surveil, when that came out with the Ravnica...
Guilds of Ravnica.
I like that as well, but in most cases, scrying is going to be more beneficial than the graveyard. Because you're still putting stuff back in for your decks. It would be better to have it in the graveyard. For my build decks, scry is so much better because I can go find it. I have a potential to go get it. If it's in my graveyard, I have a lot less likely chance that card's ever coming back into my hand or into the game.
And I think Scry does really well if you're running more tutors or shuffle effects to get it just back into your deck if you need it later on. So I can definitely see
Which we do play a lot of that stuff, so that's another thing.
And we've gone away from tutors, but if you're running tutors and you're like, I don't need that right now, but I could use it later maybe, I think that makes it a better mechanic than Surveil at that point.
Yeah, so Scry, just being able to, like last week's episode, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, check that out because it was our top manipulating cards for your top of your cards, or top of your library. Scry just allows you to, if you're not tutoring, to help you find what you actually need.
Card filtering is really powerful then.
I like cards that you can look at the top and put them back in any order, but not being able to give you that choice of, I don't need frickin' 3 lands, off the top. Let's get those down to the bottom. I just think Scry is an awesome ability or mechanic that they added a while back.
One thing that I also like about it is that it is sprinkled. It is blue heavy, but is sprinkled everywhere.
Yeah,
for the most part, except for white. Obviously, white has nothing.
But as demonstrated by last week,
Crystal Ball is the best in white at this point.
All the artifact stuff.
So I think that's a really nice thing too. I would like it in other colors more, obviously, but blue, it's really flushed out to a certain point. It's very usable. And I like the comparison. I've seen it. Like, I love the Scrylands. I really like those as cards.
Those are awesome. And they would have been on, we mentioned them last week, but if you're playing any more than a dual one color, Scrylands have to be in there. That has to be like after your dual lands and your shock lands. Scrylands is the next thing I go for.
Yeah, it's the only tapped land you should be considering that comes into play tapped. I also think it's an apt comparison for like scrying one is like drawing a half card.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily putting it in your hand, but it definitely helps you on getting higher quality draws. So I agree. I do put Scry, and like I said, the Scry lands from Theros Block are going in. They go in a ton of my decks.
Now I will put a little side note to this. If Explore becomes a normal evergreen mechanic, that could overtake Scry
from Ixalan Block.
Yeah, not Ixalan. Yeah, okay. If it became an evergreen mechanic, then that might overtake Scry for me because I like the fact that it puts the land in your hand, and if it's not a land, you can decide if you want it
on top of your library in the graveyard.
Yeah, that I like that better because I think that's better than Surveil because Surveil is putting on top or in the graveyard. I think Explore is so much better because you actually can get rid of, if you're land heavy on top, it's going into your hand, So if that ever becomes evergreen, that'll take over Scry for me, I think.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about just Scry versus more card draw? Have you kind of like contemplated that at all?
Well, but we were talking about mechanics, so card draw.
Yeah, card draw is not a mechanic.
Yeah. I agree.
That's a good point.
I want to do the mechanic where I draw. How about life gain? I wouldn't say that's real. Well, I guess you could do life link as a mechanic.
Life link,
yeah, there you
could
go.
Potentially be a mechanic. Yeah.
Yeah, but not just gaining life.
Scrying's pretty cool.
All right, so what's your... I like yours. What am I asking?
Flying.
I know what yours... Banding.
Banding
Phasing.
Is the worst.
Except for with Teferi's protection.
So I actually ended up going with Landfall. I really like this ability. It started out in Zendikar for the most part, blocked the first one. They really
when
failed
they actually
it.
gave a name to it, because they had it before but didn't really have like a...
There weren't many cards that
Not
were
a lot,
effective.
yeah, no.
I can't think of a ton. A lot of them came after, so like...
it normally was specific, like it'd be like when a forest, or like when this, like a specific card comes into, like specific land type comes into play.
And so landfall is whenever you have a land come into play, it just has an effect whatever the card states that has landfall. And I do like the cards afterwards that weren't in Zendikar block that have landfall but not keyworded on it. So kind of like Tatiova from Dominaria. Whenever a land comes into play, draw a card, gain a life. Like, that's sweet. And so what I think it does for me, like, it incentivizes something that I want to be doing in the game, which is ramping. Putting more than one land in per
Lowery
play, or
signature.
or consistently getting a land into play and having that just natural benefit of stuff coming on. And again, another thing that is similar to Scry is it's heavy in green, but it is in every color. And all of them have really good cards in it. So, like, Obnixilis, like the Fallen, the one that whenever you have a land come into play, it deals 3 damage to a player and you put 3 on a counter. That's sweet. Admonition Angel, like, exiles a creature until that angel leaves play. Like
Avenger of Zendikar.
Avengers of Zendikar is a fantastic card. You have Rampaging Baloths, Royal Elemental that steals creatures in blue.
Yeah, that one's awesome. I like that.
Red is kind of bad, but it deals 1 damage to like each player or permanent and stuff like that. So it's kind of like sprinkled wherever. You can just kind of put it in there and it'll help you a ton.
I totally agree with it, because like the thing is land is the only thing that typically when you're playing it, you're not getting a huge benefit from, the land is just the basic part of Magic. It's all right, this land comes in to help me cast something else. To be able to get a benefit of playing a land that you're just doing that can't be countered or anything like that, you're playing a land and then something happens when that happens. That's awesome. It's like you're playing a spell with your land every single time.
Yeah, and I mean, another thing is like it just makes your ramp cards better as well. So like ramp cards, but even fetches, which I like a lot, is playing fetches.
Because you play your fetch and then you go get a land, so you're really getting 2 benefits.
So you're doubling up on it. It makes you want to play more with like Oracle of Moldiah and allow you to play 2 lands per turn and just get that benefit. Like it enables you to get a benefit off of playing good cards. And that's just something that really I enjoy about the landfall mechanic. It's been something that I've really enjoyed. I almost always have some sort of landfall deck.
In your it's not in every deck though, is it?
No, I almost try and avoid it sometimes.
Oh, really? Because you have it so much?
Because I do enjoy it a lot, and I don't want to become
that guy.
I'm going to pull out my landfall deck. Which one?
Lowery in alliteration. Lowery landfall.
Basically, if
with Lowery,
it's
Lowery
any mechanic
landfall
that has an L in it, like at the beginning, I will like it.
Lifelink.
Lowery like lifelink. Lowery like landfall.
Landfall, lifelink.
There is nothing else.
Lobsters. You don't like lobsters?
I think no, I don't like seafood, but
I don't either.
It's more like Hammerheads from Fallen Empires. Come on.
I gotcha.
I'm not sure if you
those
did.
Big crab things that are really sucky that are blue.
They're more like lobsters. But
or lobsters. See, I don't like seafood, so I don't even know what the difference is.
You can't copy me. I already said that.
No, I literally and figuratively don't eat
But mostly
seafood.
literally.
Don't eat seafood.
I don't either.
The only time I have it is crab rangoon. But that's
not even real,
I know,
is it?
because it's a ton of cream cheese and then little bits of crab in it. It's funny because you go outside of Minnesota and the cream cheese wontons, you can't just get cream cheese wontons. They all have crab in them. You can't just get plain cream cheese wontons. For some reason, Minnesota... And
we're getting judged heavily out there right now.
Yeah, somebody else might know the answer to this, but for some reason... Like, even when I was in Milwaukee, when I went to a school in Milwaukee, the Chinese restaurants there were all crab rangoon. They didn't have cream cheese
it's like
wonton.
a
But
Minnesota thing.
if you went to Leanne Chin's, which is a Midwestern thing, you don't like Leanne Chin's.
It's disgusting.
I like Leanne Chin's. I've always liked them, but they're cream cheese wontons. That's the only way you could get it.
Welcome to Commander Smith's, where we rag on cream cheese wontons and seafood.
I hated cream cheese wontons until I was like a junior in high school, and then all of a sudden, like the switch flipped, and I was like, "These fucking things are awesome! It's just like cheese."
Is that right around the time you discovered you don't like Doritos? See, I'm just getting other people to judge you, just like I do.
No, the Doritos is because of an ex-girlfriend that freaking got off the bus and she just like ate a bag of Doritos and then wanted to make out, and I was like, okay, this is gross. This is Dorito breath. It was really gross.
I love that story.
It's so gross.
I've been trying to figure out how to get that on the podcast
There
for
you
a
go.
while. Got it.
Lowry's goal. He has a little checklist before he comes in.
Oh yeah.
Try to get.
I got a couple of stories that we'll try and bring up. Yeah. So landfall, huh?
I almost want to like bust out her name. Just like,
No.
yeah, no,
Don't do that. It'll be like Doritos Dorothy or something.
In alliteration, it has to be that way.
It's the only way I can
dated
do
a
it.
Dorothy. What am I from the 60s?
You're a vampire.
All right.
Tangent.
So we got done with favorite mechanics. Oh, now we go into lore time with Lowery. Do we want to move into that, or do we have more about landfall? Did you want to?
Let me check my notes.
Bullet point. I told you to do bullet points, and then I didn't do any bullet points because then I was making everything else. I wasn't making everything, but that sounded really douchey. I was doing everything.
See
else.
what I deal with all the time? All the time. No, I'm good. We can move on.
Okay. So next is lore time with Larry.
You sounding older every time.
I know. He's trying to do that. You know, from
Dated
the 60s.
somebody from the 60s.
Damn Dorothy. Eating those damn Doritos. Did they even have Doritos back then?
Probably not. And if they did, it was awful.
Yeah, okay. It was awful.
So there's already a bunch of articles out. I will post the one that I'm going to be talking about. This one's going to be focused on rakdos. So they start out, and this is just like, it's a common story about how a demon loves a girl, and they just, your
your everyday love story. Yeah. A demon falls in love with a girl.
A woman. She's a woman. Girl would be real weird. Okay, so he's like,
girl cheats on demon with angel. Demon gets pissed.
It's like a demon
to hell
who's
again.
like a person, like a really lame person.
A demon is a lame person?
Yeah. That's
that
how the story read in my mind. It was like, this doesn't feel demon-ish at all.
So
I don't want to rag on it, but
it was when the next time I come across somebody that's just really boring and lame, and just be like, demon! We're like, what the fuck? I'm like, gotta listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
Episode 54. About 27 minutes and 40 some seconds in.
Okay. So starts out with this demon basically shuffling his feet outside of a shop, like an effigy shop, kind of like where you can like build doll of a person and poke their eye out and then it hurts them type thing.
Like the taboo doll stuff.
Sure.
The,
whatever.
What are they called? They are.
I don't know.
Oh,
I forgot. Yeah.
Not a,
Grabbing your head.
It's like a stuffy doll, but it's but it's not
much.
stuffy doll. A voodoo doll.
Voodoo doll, yeah.
There we go.
So similar to that, and they have like other magic inside the shop, and the gal's kind of like, "Yeah, I'm running the shop, and you're in here all the time. What you up to, demon?" And he's just like stuttering and like in his head, he's just like, "Well, when we've been raves together and we've had a great time, but we have these masks on, so we don't really know who each other are. But I know it's you, babe." He's not saying this. He's thinking it. And then when she's like, "Oh, customer, I'm going to go help them. Come back. So what's your deal?" And he's like, "Well, we've bumped uglies before with masks." And she's like, "And you think we could do this in real life too?" "I don't think so." He's like, okay. And then before he leaves, there's like a Azorius like guard outside. Like they're the law in the land. And he's just kind of outside her shop being a pain in the ass. And so he pulls out this piece of paper, draws him up, and like rips it. And then the guard's like, "Ah!" But that's against the law. And so
wait.
Yeah,
it's against the law to rip a piece of paper, or
like
rip a piece of...
It's almost like doing like pain magic. So it's like it's not
so
quite the
like,
effigy, like
a voodoo piece of paper.
Yeah.
So it doesn't do as much damage. Where he ripped it and the guy didn't rip in half.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just gave him a headache.
It gave him a headache, and he could feel it throughout his body. And she was kind of like a little smitten with that. She's like, okay,
you ripping paper and kind of injuring that guy. That's hot.
And so he convinces her to come to his show that night because it's like a big rakdos party that's going on. He's like, hey, come here. I got some poetry, some jokes that I got for you. I'll get you. You can set up and watch me, and you can sell your little dolls. And I can get that to happen. She's like, really? Okay, that's cool. And then he shows up, and he's asking his devil friend who's putting on the show. Yep, devil, little baby.
Devil?
It turns into a baby devil later. But
this is
happening in story time, not real life, not literally, more figurative. And so he convinces the devil to have this gal set up, even though most of what she's selling is illegal with the Azorius. He tells this really lame poem. Like, he's like 1,000 years old.
He's a lame guy.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, this is not a poem of somebody that's like hundreds, thousands, like a couple thousand years. Wait, is this
why you wanted to do the love story?
No. I read this like
I know.
Hour before we're doing this. So it's just like a really lame poem. Then he starts telling jokes about Dovin Ban, who's the Azorius leader. Mm-hmm. And everybody's starting to roll on. Yeah, oh, that guy's a jackass. And he's actually starting to win. Some of them, you know, if I was there, it'd probably be funny. But they did some all right jokes. I'll admit that.
Wait, so they actually wrote the jokes on there?
Yeah, they did write the jokes out. Like, oh, he's doing, you know, people are laughing. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. All right. And then the Azorius step in. Everything kind of gets shut down, and he's pissed. So the gal doesn't get to sell anything, but they're walking back. And then they see some graffiti on the side of the wall that like rips into Dovin Ban. And so the gal goes over and like corrects the spelling.
What the?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. This is an actual like.
This is a story legitimately on their website. And so, and then the Azorius guy comes up later and he's like, you're in violation of graffiti. And she's like, what? I was just, you know, she didn't say anything. And then he was like, you have a misdemeanor for doing the little paper tearing thing and hurting the people, or the person. And he's like, what? She didn't do anything. She was just correcting the spelling. And he's like, duly noting, you are definitely going to jail, the gal. And he's like, oh, fuck. Cut to him going and the demon. So she's in jail. Okay, she's like in jail. Legitly in jail for correcting spelling on graffiti. So he's feeling super bad about it. He wants to go balls deep, like somehow, because he's a demon.
He's lame.
They talk about blood a lot, but like very casually, and that's fine too. It's kind of weird. Like it's just like it's in a human form of just going, yeah, people dying is cool. All this blood stuff, da da da. Like, so
that's what makes him a demon.
No. All the humans do it. Everybody, okay. Like it's just like the rakdos cult. They're cool with blood. They're cool with bones, but it's all just like very nonchalant. It's just like I feel like, oh, you're reveling about it, like partying about that kind of stuff. But when it's not partying, you're like, oh, ho ho hum. So it's really
weird.
It's a really strangely toned story.
Well, yeah, this story is pretty strange up to this point.
So he goes and finds this precog person who can read minds and sets them up, and they're going to jailbreak this lady out. And so they get this box, and they're going through the line. There's a bunch of null mages that would stop any magic. And they open this box that the precog gave them, and there's like a bottle of whiskey, like a child's like outfit, like bonnet and stuff.
Oh man, and this doesn't sound like it's going good.
Like
where is this going?
That does sound weird, doesn't it?
It does.
So
get yourself drunk, and then
there's a talisman of blood fry, I want to, or fire, or something like that, which basically gets people to riot. And so they have the devil guy who is friends with is with them, gets him in the baby outfit. Swallows.
Whoa!
The
Who
talisman.
Gets in the baby outfit?
The devil.
The devil.
Devil, not the devil.
It's
a
the
devil.
Little devil.
Yeah, the little devil. Yeah,
I gotcha.
And so they're just making fun of him, like, oh, you look so cute. He's like, I'm going to fucking rip your face off. No swearing, obviously, in the book.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It'd be better
Didn't
if it was.
do it. Definitely threatened people, though. And so they hide the whiskey and the person in front of them because that's not allowed to go in either. And then they were able to basically sneak in, not really looked over. They meet up with the gal, they start talking, and they end up like breaking her out, like a big distraction. And they're getting out, and just as they're about out, the demon and the devil get caught, and then the gal gets to go. And so she kind of gets out, but they get caught because they helped people, her break
Escape.
out. Yeah. Cutscene. They're outside working because they're building a new prison because the Azorius are being very like overzealous on trying to like put people away. Obviously for correcting graffiti. They're
Go to jail for graffiti.
Yeah. And so they are they're working on this new prison and they're sitting there. They've only been there a couple days, and all of a sudden he kind of gets this idea. It's like, oh shit, there's like a couple thousand people out here in the yard working. And he just starts going up to the top of the like metal frame of the building, which is up to the clouds, they say. And he basically smashes this talisman of the blood fire that just causes people to riot, goes down on everybody in the yard, and they just fucking escape.
Like everybody is
Like basically everybody, just like it's a mall. Some people die, obviously.
but it's like a normal thing.
They basically don't even talk about it. They just like, and then he's like, oh, it's a fucking riot. And he starts going down. Cutscene. Opens up. They're in front of the precog. They got themselves out. They got the gal that's out, and they're all sitting there. And she's like, oh, this gift is for when you're going to get married. I said too much. This will be a while. It's just like, so the demon and the gal are going to get hitched. Married? Yeah.
So they bumped uglies then? Did they talk about that?
No, not at all. But, she grabs his knee and kind of squeezes. So
they hold hands.
They basically can't go back to their own lives because the Azorius are overzealous and they've gotten really aggressive in the last couple months.
Well, now if you litter, you're going to jail.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, there was, there were some very petty crimes where people were doing hard labor. So,
I can't believe this is an actual story with it.
They wrote it. It just felt like, from a weird perspective of a rakdos demon. And like, again, he was just like a stammering dummy.
And he was lame.
Kinda. He did some kind of cool things.
So let me sum this up really quick. We have a lame demon who tells jokes. And then his girlfriend, or who he wants, so a girl that he wants to bump uglies with, gets arrested,
but in a respectable way. Obviously, rakdos style.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's a whole
missionary
thing.
style. Like, no, rakdos. It's got to be rakdos
style.
You know what that is?
No idea.
Over the shoulder. I don't even know how that works. So. He does comedy. She falls in love with him because he does awesome comedy.
I'd say smitten
with him.
Yeah.
She goes to. She's a teacher also at subset here, or not subset. Just
not a teacher.
She's correcting spelling. She's a teacher. So she's got to go and correct the graffiti spelling because she's a teacher at heart. Gets arrested. Goes to jail. He goes to save her. Gets her out, and since he saves her, now they're going to get married, and he overthrows the prison and
for a little bit, but they're just imprisoning more people anyway.
And there's a baby devil in there, and a
baby devil. Yeah, nah, he got caught, but apparently he was super cute. Everybody kept on like, oh, that's a cute devil.
Oh man, that is it's like the other stories. They're ridiculous.
They're kind of out there.
I don't know if I want to do lore time with Lowery anymore. So not from what you're doing, it's more of the stories I thought would be like, just like, all right, what's going to happen? It's just like, what the fuck is going on?
This is kind of a change too, because like back in Dominaria, they talked a lot more about what like the planeswalkers and legendary creatures were doing. Here it's like, nobody, like names come up that you recognize, like Dovin Bond.
Yeah.
But like he's not there at all. All you know is like he's putting pressure and trying to imprison a bunch of rakdos and stuff like that.
This like just hit me now. You know what this makes me feel like is happening is like Wizards. This is actually like a thing that happened to one of the employees at Wizards, and they just made it into it. Like, just think of that. It's like a guy, and he's trying to hit on this girl, and he invites her to a comic club and then tells some jokes, and she kind of likes him. And then they're like leaving there, and she gets in trouble with the police, and then he like saves her by covering for her, and then now she's in love with him. It's a Wizard, like somebody from Wizards story, and they just intertwined it and made it a lame demon.
You're a demon. Okay. What do you mean?
His buddy was into like fetish stuff, so he dressed up as in a gimp mask or something like that.
It's it's an interesting read. I'll try and I try and not pick it apart too far because
I mean, like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, you probably hear it in their feelings. If you like this kind of stuff, I'd say go ahead. It gives you a little feel of what the lowerling people are kind of dealing with,
which is what we all want
to oppression.
Listen to is just I wanted to know about that goblin. That was
there's no goblins in the story. It's a baby devil.
A baby. I actually wasn't trying to talk about your story. I was just talking about it in the story in general. Trying to find a lower level, that goblin that can't be blocked except by walls. I want to know about that guy. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It'd be nice if these guys had cards. Like,
so they don't even make it on the card.
Yeah, they did like a little sketch of the demon, and he's like big fat like jowls and like chin, and then like a small beady eyes, and then he has like glasses on with horns. That was him reading poetry, and I was like, what is going on? Looks like Puff the Magic Dragon a little bit.
Oh man.
Yep.
All right. Let's
go read it.
Go read it. Nice. I got what you did there. All right. So should we move into the Mulligan rule stuff? Should we talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
the idea of what we will call the London Mulligan.
Is that what they're actually calling it?
Maybe. I don't know.
I was going to be impressed if you
named I'm not
it right
that
there.
clever.
So it's not going to take place until London...
April Magic Mythic Championship.
Which is the 26th, I believe, 26th through the 28th.
So
April. They've been play testing this in their...
Internally.
And they like how it's been doing, I think is what I kind of read about it.
I think that's why they're testing it out.
So I should back it up. The Mulligan rule, what it is so you draw your 7 cards. This isn't going to affect Commander as much, we'll talk about that in a second. You draw your 7 cards, you don't like your hand, so you take a mulligan. Normally what happens, you take a mulligan down until you like your hand.
You go to 6, 5, 4 cards.
And they changed this rule just, in the last few years, where once you decide on the hand, you can look at the top card and scry it. Hey, scry.
Yeah.
You either can keep it on top or put it on the bottom. Now what they're thinking of doing is, you go down to...
If you're mulliganing down to 6, you still draw 7 cards, and then you take one from that hand and put it on bottom. So and if it's 5, you take 2 out, and 4 take 3 out, and so on, so on.
So we're going to talk about a few cards, quite a few cards. I think it's about 16.
That can benefit
from that. So these are potential spec things. But before we get to that part, what is this going to do for Commander? I don't think it's going to do much.
Well, with us, we have the rule where you want to. It's an hour plus game. Mm-hmm. Somebody starting out at 6, 5, 4 cards in hand is
it
like
just sucks.
I would just quit.
Yeah.
Like okay,
all right, you win. Let's start a new game.
Yeah. So go to 7. That's my experience, and so that's going to be hard for us. Like we're not really going to deal with that.
And I'm not sure if every play group does that. I would think you would do that just because you want to have fun games. Unless you're very competitive and have to win. You're like, no, fuck you. You go down to 4 cards and you're going to play this game. Like, that'd just be kind of douchey. But there might be some people that are really... Maybe there's money on the line.
And if in those play groups, I'm just going to bring it up right now, Grenzo becomes very good.
Yeah.
Because you get to choose what cards go on the bottom of your deck.
That was going to be my joke. You bastard. Because I was going to say...
I did ruin your joke.
Yeah, you totally did. You're like, you should bring that up in the... But what I was going to say is, like, you aren't, like, in our play group, we don't play that. It'd be funny if you're like, well, I'm playing Grenzo. Can we play by the Mulligan rule just so I can do Grenzo and put the cards on the bottom?
That's much better than what I just said.
Yeah, you just fucking ruined it, bastard.
Doritos.
That's this episode's name. Just Doritos. People are like, what the fuck? Anyways, so... With Commander, I don't think it's going to... Because Commander is such a more casual format besides the one-on-one. Yeah, it might... affect
it might
that
be
a little
more
bit.
important in a competitive environment as well.
So with this, a lot of these cards, it's going to affect, except for Grenzo. So we'll take Grenzo off the list. Grenzo, that's still, if you're doing a one-on-one commander deck, or if your play group does do the Mulligan rule, it's going to affect that card the most. I don't know. I couldn't figure out any other ones. If you guys know of any
Playing
others,
off the bottom, there's not.
yeah.
No.
So, well, anything that has to deal with being able to set your top of your library. So if somebody else knows of that, you guys can email us or shoot us a tweet or something like that. But out of legendary creatures, that was really the only one that kind of came across. But what are some of the other ones? What are the main ones that we talked about?
So the big thing is, I think Leylines become really important.
There's some in particular that are better than others. There's a lot of shitty Leylines.
Yeah, there's 10 Leylines, maybe 9, maybe only 9.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. So, and I think the biggest ones.
Who didn't get 2?
Black. Leyline of the Void got a reprint.
They're like, this is such a good card.
This is a really
Let's
good card.
just
and thank God they reprinted it because it's a $40 card right
expensive.
now. But Leyline of the Void and Leyline of Sanctity, those are probably the two most important ones for Modern.
For me, Life... What is it? Life Force.
Which means that creatures can't be countered?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many of those do you own?
1.
You're such a...
But it's foil.
Yeah. But Leylines become a bit more important as sideboard cards because you're able to hit them more consistently because you're seeing more cards. Mm-hmm. And then if you draw multiple of them in your hand, you can put them on the bottom and still start the game with one of them in hand. And
then it just goes directly into play. Yeah. And so, you don't have to get your stuff countered, or you can play things that flash, or you have hexproof.
With anticipation. There's players can't gain life if they're on a life gain deck. Like, I think those cards become much more powerful because you're much more likely to see them in your hand as a hate card for your opponents.
The other ones that are pretty good are the Chencellors. The Chancellor... Like the green one, what it allows is if you have the green in your hand, you can add 1 green mana to your mana pool in your first main phase. So if you have multiples in your hand, if you're
it can be 3 green mana to start the game off with.
Yeah, and so you can really get a big jump start on that. I think that could be good.
Chancellor of the Annex, the first spell that an opponent plays
in that game, not even just that turn, it's the game. So if you have 1 to 2 of them in your hand,
they have to pay 1, 2, or 3 or whatever that you show off.
So that puts them back how many turns, depending on what they're playing and everything. So there are some shitty ones. The ones that I didn't really... The Leyline, there's 3 Leylines that aren't that good, and then there's 1 Chancellor that I was like, meh, it's...
So, if you want to check out which one, we'll probably tag them down below, but just a general list, type in Leyline into any search engine, and they'll... press enter and a bunch of them will pop up.
So, but with what Lowery was saying is the ones that are used more, especially in Modern and everything, those are the ones that could see a spike with this.
They could. They are more expensive already. Yeah. And again, it definitely has to change for it to be a spike. But people will start speculating on it early because there's still almost 2 months at this point to test out to see if this is too good. Is it really good? Is it too good?
I like the idea.
Powerful? Yeah. I really like it for Arena.
Yeah.
Because last time we were talking about Arena, I was complaining about the Mulligan just blows. Mm-hmm. And this would help a ton more.
Oh, fucking Arena.
Yeah. Gotta love it.
We kind of bantered about that a little bit beforehand. We didn't really want to put it on the episode with it, but Arena, man, it's all blue and red. It's all blue Stompy and red Stompy. Well, not blue Stompy. It's just blue fucking... Well, it is Stompy. All it is, you can't do anything. Anyways, some of the ones that weren't of the Chancellors or Leylines, we talked about Grenzo, but we also have Gemstone Caverns.
Gemstone Caverns is a land. If it's starting in your hand, you can remove a card from your hand and put that land into play before the game even starts.
Put that into play, and then it gets a counter... And it gets that color of whatever or is it any color? That's right. So if you don't have it in your opening hand, it comes into play and it's just a colorless.
Colorless. It's a legendary land, so
you could only have 1 of them.
Yeah.
The next one is Serum Powder, and that is the one where the Mulligan. It's the artifact
It taps. It's 3 mana artifact. When it comes into play, you can tap it for 1 colorless mana. If it's in your starting hand and you don't like that starting hand, you can remove all of those cards from the game and draw that many more cards again.
So it's like a free mulligan right there.
Yeah.
So
and I don't know how good. I don't know how any good any of these cards will be.
Yeah.
But they're at least something happening before the game starts that would take effect, which would really help seeing more cards.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then the last one, which will actually kind of lead into Smith Specs, so we'll kind of, because it'll be my first Smith Specs of the week card, but it's Sphinx of Foresight. That one we've liked for quite a while. I mean, we said it when it came out, like this was such a good card because being able. So what it is, it's if it's in your opening hand, you reveal it. And you scry 3 at the beginning of your first main phase. Mm-hmm. Or is it your first upkeep? I believe it's first upkeep. Let me just pull it up.
Yeah, your first upkeep.
Yeah, so your first upkeep, you get to scry 3. That's just... And then if it's in play, it still has an ability. So it's not just like... 1. Yeah, you're scrying 1 for 4, and it's a 4/4 flying. Like, it's a pretty good card. I feel like this has the highest potential to go from... a card that isn't used very much to...
Because it's so new.
Yeah. To a card that's used in Standard, potentially in Modern, like other formats. I'm going to use this in Commander if I can. Maybe.
Maybe. We'll just test it out. It could be solid in Sphinx Tribal.
I mean, because... but, I mean, even having, we talked about last week setting your top. This was one of the cards that was close to making the cut. We had to cut our list down, but we did decide with Thassa instead, because Thassa does the same thing, but then makes your creature unblockable, which
and
is...
it's indestructible.
And yeah.
So...
But yeah, so I don't know. What do you think with the whole list of everything? So should I go more
That's about more of like the cards that affect the game before the game even starts.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're looking into, and I think a lot of people have that idea. We're just getting that list out for you so that you kind of look through it and see what you think. If
you think of any other idea, like if any of the other listeners, if you guys have any other thoughts on cards that might be affected, definitely tweet at us or shoot us an email or something like that, because then we can make mention to that.
Sure.
But those are the ones that we kind of rattled off when we were like, all right, what cards are actually going to be affected?
And then like going into potentially like metagaming with this mulligan rule, I had talked about, Leyline of the Void and Sanctity being good sideboard cards that are already, $20 and $40. I think that also would affect just your sideboard cards in Modern in general. So you have some really good, like Stony Silence affects your artifacts. Like if you're facing an artifact, you need Stony Silence or some type of artifact hate. And so you're able to dig a lot better with this rule to get your hate. And maybe not double up on it if you don't want more than one, but just being able to see more cards smooths things out so much more. So sideboard in Modern and Legacy might just become too powerful. I think that's the worrying part. Maybe not limited or Standard, but Modern and Legacy and Vintage being able to just go like, well, I'm gonna find my combo.
Yeah,
and just
get
be
the
able
combo
to do
piece.
it.
But that's one thing we talked about before the podcast is, like you just said, it makes your sideboard very important, and it might make these cards, especially the Leylines and stuff, that much more important that they're in almost every single sideboard, because hey, you have that potential game 2 to put these in and get them. The deck you're going against is dealing with targeting your hand and discarding it or something like that, or direct damage. All right, so we're gonna put the Sanctity in the white one, so you have hexproof. So yeah, it could make these cards even more demand, even though they're not a main part of every deck. Well, they're gonna be in the sideboard just so that you can actually play them.
And I think that just, and I think in the first time I heard of the Mulligan rule here, I was just like, combo became stronger. They're going to be able to find the pieces that they want to start out with, generally. And then I kind of went reading through some boards, because this is a little bit like, it's not in my realm really, but it's interesting to listen to. And then people were going, well, if people are aggressively mulliganing for the better hand, discard becomes a much better option as well, because they're already starting out at a lower card if
if they go down to 5 cards and then you're able to
just attrition them out
yeah.
because they don't have enough cards in hand and maybe they don't have enough draw.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll be interesting to see. It will change. It would change the deck building experience, I think, dramatically. So that it'd be a very interesting rule if it does come to light.
I think, I don't know, just kind of going off the top of my head, you think sideboards would be more of like, instead of depending on your deck, it'll still depend on what deck you're playing, but are they going to be more consistent of like, generally every single sideboard is going to have these 10 cards, and then you have 5 cards that are floating. Every sideboard is going to be like, all right, potentially, and you have shock lands or whatever. I can find my hate
a lot easier.
Yeah, they might put that in, even if they're playing, let's say, white-black deck, and they splash, something else just so that they can find the other hate in there. You know what I'm saying?
It's possible. Yeah, I think it'd be very interesting in the Eternal formats for the Mulligan rule. I think it'd be really weird if they only did it for like limited or like very like limited standard. If they only did it there, that'd be kind of weird.
I think they would do it.
It's an all or nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think they would do it all, but that's not. But I haven't seen what they said they're actually gonna do. We'll see.
They'll test it out at London. I think there's gonna be a lot of people paying attention, and it'll definitely be interesting.
We'll keep you updated.
Probably not.
No.
We'll keep you
updated about if the cards are. I mean, you got a couple months to
2 months
to jump
right,
on some of these cards if you want to buy them. If you don't have them for your collection, you might want to buy them now. I mean, they could really spike, and if you really want to spec on some of these, some of the more expensive ones could really double up.
Yeah, I'll toss a list down below in the notes, and then you can kind of check it out for yourself.
Anyways, let's jump into our Smith specs of the week.
That was a lame way of saying it.
Well, because I was about to plug in the Mickey Mouse anyways afterwards, so unless we can find a different way of doing Smith specs of the week, that's kind of the thing, Mickey.
All right.
Smith specs of the week, guys. There, I just did it. All right, so like I said before, Sphinx of Foresight, when this popped up, I was like, all right, I'm going to check this card out. Now, the foils are sitting at about $2
on TCG.
On TCG. If you look on Goldfish, it says they're $5, but they're not. But there is quite a big inventory of them. I would say foils because the non-foils are like 40 cents, 50 cents. So you can pick those up, but there's a lot of those. But the foils are, what did I have? 180 listings. That has gone down. It was over 200 when I bought mine. What else did I have on there? If you have some time to buy these, TCG, like I said, it says 4 to 5, but I found them under 2.
Yeah, at 2, I don't think there's a bad buy at all. I think it definitely double up to $4 or $5.
Yeah, and then currently you can actually sell these on eBay for $350 if not higher.
So you can pick them up on TCG and flip them for
right now if you want to. I mean, but you got to count in 50 cents for your shipping and eBay's fees. You really make like 50 cents, but you have an out. There's like a no loss right now. You can buy these. And if you're like, a month down the road, the Mulligan rule isn't happening, boom, throw them on eBay for $350 and get your money back plus 50 cents each. You're sitting pretty. But that's not what I think is going to happen. I think it actually could go quite a bit higher. I think this is a very good card that I'm surprised isn't being used more. Like, is there even any modern decks using this? No,
not that I know.
There's not even a standard deck using this. So if that new
rule comes into play, I think
you could see this being used a lot more. So definitely go pick up a few of those, and you could more. I actually, if that rule does come into effect, I could see that one getting up, foils especially getting over around $10.
Yeah,
because then it just starts getting used in every single format, So. All right, Larry, your first one.
I'm going to go with Sundial of the Infinite, regular or foil. And basically, it's a 2-mana artifact that, 1, tap it, end your turn. And you can only do this on your turn, essentially. Yeah. So this kind of has, like, some weird, tricky effects. Like, this is a perfect card in, like, the Inala Wizard tribal deck from 2 years ago. But it also does, like, some tricky things. So, like, you could keep around your Geist of St. Traft Angel for another turn if you just end the turn and skip your end step.
So like things with why am I brain farting on him? The goblin. Make tokens. Anything that says that your token is sacrificed at the end of turn, you don't need to sacrifice.
So what you do is you want to use it to skip your end of turn.
Why am I brain? What's his name?
I don't know. Oh, Kiki Jiki?
Yeah, God, I could not think of it. But yeah, you make a token copy and then you're like, oh, end my turn.
Yeah,
And then
now some of them have different wording. So like sometimes it says at the end of any turn or the next turn or
the next end.
Some of the wording. So you need to be careful on that kind of stuff. And it is kind of a tricky card. I'll try and tag probably just the Gatherer on this one, so you can read through some of the...
because isn't it like something with when you're attacking and damage is being done, you can go end my turn and all that.
I don't want... Yeah, you fogged it? All right, I'm just going to not have... Not sure if fog was the best example.
No, it's like I fogged myself. Or that you're saying
but you can do a lot of tricks with it. Like if you have Final Fortune, taking another turn and at the next end step you lose the game, you can skip that.
So you don't lose the game.
Yeah. So it's kind of has a bunch of like cool little deals that you can do with it. So
I like it.
Just something that I was saying, like foils sitting around $8, and the regulars around 3, like under 4. Yeah. So.
Very nice. All right, my next one kind of has to deal with
how popular gates are getting. Yeah.
So Maze's End, and there's a couple things to this. Maze's End, and I am more focused on the pre-release promo foil ones of these. It has different art than the pack foils, but the pack foils are jumping all over the place. Right now, I think they're currently at about $3, but TCG, I just dropped my pen. TCG only had 3 listings of the pack foils.
Dropping Pen Podcast.
That's also the name, Doritos and Dropping Pens. But they have a moderately played one at $3.50. Then they have one at $5, and then $8, and then none. So it's been that way. Like it's kind of all. It was at 6 listings like a day or 2 ago, and now they only have 3 listings on there. So it's been jumping all around. Right now, it's
there's not a lot of inventory on that.
So there's quite a bit of inventory on these promo foils, which personally, I don't know if it's because I actually bought them and I was able to get them and they were cheap that I like these better, but. I do like the look of these, but you can pick these up for 50 cents to 75 cents each.
And in comparison, yeah.
But there is, like I said, there is quite a bit of inventory, but once the other pack foil ones are gone, these are going to be gone. They're already 20 less than when I bought them. 20 vendors less, not necessarily 20 different cards. A lot more of those have gone since I last bought. So that inventory is starting to go down as well. And then one thing I text Lowery about. I was like, man, with all this gate stuff, watch there be a gate commander in the next set. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be the commander I would pick, or the general.
It'd be super sweet if it's uncommon as well. Like there's only this card as a mythic, and everything else is uncommon or common for gate.
Yeah. That was the other part I put on there. Was a mythic. So being a mythic foil is a little different. It's a little harder to come by than uncommon or rare.
I don't see the legend coming.
It's gotta come.
No, I think they will disappoint you. So
that's what I'm going to use. If they don't in this next set, I'm making a Ramos deck. I'm going to do Gates. Ramos the Gatekeeper.
No, that sounds like fun.
Yeah,
so much support in this.
Go play that one. You're going to do awesome. And then just an FYI, over the last couple months, this has risen 25 cents. Whoa. So watch yourself.
I would probably go check out Amulet of Vigor before this. So also Maze's End, like if you have 10 or more
you win the game.
mazes in play, you win the game.
Which that's where I was kind of going with the whole gates and did you say mazes?
I probably did.
Yeah, you totally did. If you have 10 or more gates,
I think there's only like 3 or 4 maze cards.
Yeah, I can never win the game. They need to print more.
Maze's End. Mystifying Maze. I don't think I can get the 4 offhand real easy. So, gates.
Yeah, I can't think of any other mazes.
You're amazing.
Oh, man. All right, you move on to your next card.
All right, looking at Vengevine WMCQ promo. This card you can get for like 20 or no, that's not right. 27 on
TCG.
Let me recheck.
Yeah,
It's 23. It was 23. On TCG, you can find it for about 23 on the light played section. Again, Goldfish is off, saying like 35. That's way over. So you can find it a lot cheaper on TCG. So this card drops when it's not popular, and when it hits another popular spurt, it
spikes
jumps
up. Yeah, so
and
this one at one point was over around $60 at one point.
Yeah. And I would suggest at least getting some sort of Vengevine in there.
And if you're buying it at what price did you say?
23-ish.
Yeah. So it's back down to its lowest point that it's been. So it doesn't get any lower than that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, Vengevine as a card when it was in standard was like a $40 card. And it has jumped up to 40, and then like Survival of the Fittest got banned, so then it wasn't used as much. And now there's becoming more and more use in Modern for it, and so it becomes a more popular card. Just got that reprint in the Masters
Ultimate
set.
Masters.
And so that's
I was actually about to say the only thing that hurts us a little bit is then now you have a different, like, I like the promo art, because it's not like a...
Oh, so you're saying there's competition against
now
a
there's
box
competition
topper?
Having a box topper instead of this.
Sure. And this is different art.
Yeah. Which that's what I was saying is like normally I would like the different art, but now you have a full art, so you're going to lose a little bit there. But this is down to its lowest that it was ever at, and then like I said, it got up to 60 at one point. And I think, well, look at that. After Guilds is when it dropped from 50 down to where you're at now, and that's because of Ultimate Masters right there. So that can only really come up. It's not going to go much lower than that.
I don't think so. Yeah, and again, I would probably just pick up a playset of Vengevine in general if you want to just go with regulars, because the Masters set one is sitting under 12.
Yeah. What did you pick up this then?
So yeah, I bought a playset of this one
of the promo. Then
yeah,
you
the
bought
promo
all four?
one.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I found mine for $17 a piece.
Lucky bastard.
But that was about 3 weeks ago as well.
So sometimes when you're on TCG, people put on the list, and I've gotten that a couple times where I picked up what was it? It was Karark's Thumb for like 35 cents, and I picked up all 30 of them, and then I sold them all for $5 a piece or something like that.
Not a bad turn.
Yeah. So sometimes you just get lucky, and when you're on TCG, you just see somebody that lists it lower than everybody else, because sometimes they just want to move it. It's at their stores or whatever. Sweet. Yeah, I like that. My last one is going back to our Instaspec that I put this week. Craterhoof Behemoth kind of made a big spike this week. The regulars, the foils also did jump a little bit. It depends on where you search. So I'm more talking about the foils of Modern Masters 2017. I was able to pick mine up for around 40, 42, while the regulars right now, the non-foils, are at $40.
Yeah, so that is a pretty big, not difference.
Yeah.
That was an awful word.
Brain is like, what word do I want to say?
The difference just isn't enough to justify the foil not being more.
Now,
so you should get a correction.
And on Goldfish, it shows that it did spike, which this is true. You go on TCG, there's only 5 listings left of Crater of Behemoth, but I've been seeing them on eBay, and by the time I say this, somebody's going to go on eBay, or somebody's going to buy it by the time this comes out. People keep listing. It's not just one person. There was multiple ones that come on for 40, and then they're sold, and then they're like today, just before we did the podcast, there was one on there for 45.
So it's just keep an eye on it. If you're interested in getting a foil version because of specking, keep an eye on it, and people are going to try and move it. I
even think at 50 or under is still good, because a $10 difference between
for this
the
good of a
foil that's used in 15,000 EDH decks. It was our CCC green. This is one of the top game winners. Like, this card is used a lot, and the only thing I can see it knocking it down is we do have something that's got to be announced here soon. We have a subset that normally comes in between every set, and that's gonna start happening soon, and we don't know if it's gonna be a You know, they said they're done with the
yeah.
modern Masters stuff that kind of was the Ultimate Masters was done there. But they've got to have something that's going to come in
Mark
there.
Rosewater has teased something
is
that we will be excited for.
So,
which he says for everything.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
He's
just saying for everything. Yeah.
He's kind of the lead designer, so he's not going to be like,
this one sucks.
We have a subpar set coming out, but I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, he's definitely like, I'm really excited about everything we're doing all the time because it's amazing.
So with that, like, normally this would be the master set coming out. Like, the last
soonish
since 2015ish or whatever they started doing the modern masters, they normally come in between the winter and the spring set.
I don't think they have anything coming before War of the Spark. I think it's after.
You think? I think that they would be announcing something in between. They've always have something in between.
You always know what's coming though, pretty much in advance. Like if they would just pop a master, like some type of subset right before War of the Spark. Like, we're only 2 months out from War of the Spark.
Yeah, but normally...
And so something should be coming out in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I guess you're right with that. But I would... was it 2 weeks?
2-ish weeks. It needs to be mid-March.
Yeah, I guess 2...
To give it a little bit of breathing
But that'd be
room.
weird because they've done something every set in between.
That's only been for the last, year and a half, though. Since they were really aggressive on year 25, like their 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
They're like, we are pumping this product out because you guys love us this much. I think with the Masters being canceled, they kind of took a step back. And it's probably going to be a small product.
Like a Planeswalker product kind of thing,
yeah,
type thing or something like that.
It could be like Jace's Spellbook from last year. It could be something like that.
If they don't announce anything before War of the Spark... You could see this card jumping. I could see it over 60. No. I'm going to take that back. The ones that are on 40, there's only a few of those copies on eBay, and then it jumps really quick to 65, 70, and especially on TCG as well. There's only a couple copies left there. So I could see if this doesn't have a reprint with anything in the next 5 months or so, I think this card could jump really quick and really high because it's used so much in Commander, and for some reason, and I actually was looking at some of the comments here that not this one, sorry, I'm going to go back to the non-foils. For some reason, people have been just targeting these. I don't know if it's Commander players or what, but it's been on the rise over the last year.
Yeah, well, that's always going to happen with a good card like this, but I don't know why this spike is happening right now, which is a steady spike. It's not one of those pew pew spikes. This one is...
It's just a low inventory. I mean, it was in the lower 20s, and then over the past, I guess, couple months, it's been up to around 30, and now we're up to 40. The big jump, I don't know. That's the regulars. So what I did is I bought mine, took my non-foil, which I guess I found out tonight that you traded me.
I traded you that years ago. You're welcome.
And so I put that up for sale for right around the price of what I bought the foils for, which is crazy when the foils are the same price as your non-foils for such a good card.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye out on that. Look, like I said, eBay is where you're going to find the cheap ones there, but if you can find it for under 50, I would definitely go for them.
My next one, or my last one, is going to be Mirari's Wake Pro Tour foil. You can find this card on TCG, lightly played for right around $26, $27. This is a highly played card in Commander, and they've kind of reprinted it in a couple of sets lately in the last 4 years. And in my mind, what I did was I picked up one, and then I'm planning on trading away the 3 regular versions I have. Which I feel like if you've been buying Commander product, you have at least one that you could flip and make this a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and
I feel like this is it has the watermark on it that looks really cool.
That was my next question. I was going to say, why specifically the Pro Tour promo? Because you could get the Commander's Arsenal one. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
that's
Commander's
also
Arsenal.
A foil one for cheap as well.
Now, I have one Commander's Arsenal card, and that curved pretty bad. So, I don't really
Was it a foil or is it a regular?
Yeah, they are foil.
Oh, they're all foil.
All of them are
that's
foil
right.
on
Yeah.
Commander's Arsenal. But the Commander's Arsenal might not be a bad way either, because that one's sitting looking like $20, because that was really hard to get as well. So I'm not sure there's really not going to be that much out there for Commander's Arsenal, Mirari's Wake.
I think they're both good picks. I was just curious on what your thoughts were on.
And again, all of them are kind of cheap. They're, $12-ish, but this is generally gets back up to like $18. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to, the regulars aren't going to go from like 12 to 24, I don't think in any way. But I think the foils have a lot more value in that case. Yeah,
I agree. I like the look of it. Yeah, I do like the little watermark on there too. It says Pro Tour. Nice.
Makes you feel like you were there.
Yeah, that's how I got this card. I was on the Pro Tour. All right, that should do it for those specs. But we wanted to mention.
It's all yours. I don't want any part of this.
Yeah, right. So there are some other casts we have mentioned. MTG Fast Finance quite a bit because it's one cast I listen to. You listen to sometimes?
I generally stop.
But
no, yeah, they're very methodical and very good at what they do.
Yeah, they break things down really well and we've talked about over the last couple of weeks about the Planeswalkers potentially being in War of the Spark,
yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
Like 30 plus potential Planeswalkers,
which
seems crazy.
Did want to throw out some specs that they had over the last couple of weeks, and because I don't like to take their specs, but I don't want to deprive you guys of not getting these while they're cheap. And potentially making yourself some money as well. So some good ones that I thought that you guys should pick up is, and I actually picked all these up as well. Deploy the Gatewatch. Foils are sitting at $5. What that does is it's a white card. You look at the top 7 cards and you can play 2 Planeswalkers.
Put them into play.
Oath of Teferi. I've talked about that card way back when that came out.
It's good enough to replace Chain Veil.
When I made my awesome prediction there. But you can get
sarcasm. No, yeah. I don't. You're gonna cut that. No. You're like, Lowery's an idiot.
Yeah. Foils are at $4 right now. Arena Rector from Battle Bond, which is an amazing card. I didn't realize I didn't have it, but when it dies, you exile it, and then you go search for any Planeswalker and put it directly into play.
Seems sweet.
Non-foils are at 11. Foils are at like 60. So I would go for the
tough.
Yeah, non-foils on those.
If there's... Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, and then Deep Glow Skate, non-foils at $8. Both. There's 2. It got printed again in the last Commander... was it not Anthology?
Anthology.
It was Anthology. Yeah. So... Even with the reprint, it didn't drop the price of Deep Glow. And what Deep Glow does is when it comes into play, double the counters on any amount of permanents that you have.
So Planeswalkers, that'd be good.
Yeah. So those are some of the specs that they had, and I think that you should definitely go out and pick those up because if this does happen and there's 36 Planeswalkers in the next set, these cards could definitely see a spike as well.
Yeah, and if you are into speccing, check out Fast Finance.
Yeah.
They do a really good job from what I've seen. So,
you've seen them?
On Twitter. They have pictures.
That's true.
And I'm forced to read it.
I have to read this.
So, no, yeah, they're a really solid podcast. They go really deep dive on what's going on. So,
yeah. Hence Fast Finance. They're all about the finance part. We're just a sliver of the finance.
We're just all over the place. We're a hodgepodge.
Yeah, hodgepodge of Commander.
Yeah.
And stuff. All right, so that should do it for
like the paper mache of Magic podcast.
I like that.
Yeah, make a little mask. Maybe like Commander mask.
No, we got to make a dick sleeve.
Out of paper mache.
Yeah. It's gonna be our own.
Seems weird. This is stickier than I remember.
We didn't even start yet, Lowery. You started on your own. You added your own. You added your own paste.
That happens.
Lowery's man paste. All right. You guys can follow us on Twitter, like we've mentioned before.
At Commander Smiths.
We're just going to end it with that.
Are we doing that?
Yeah, we'll end it with those because then we don't have to go through it again.
Makes
you can
sense.
Go to YouTube.
At Commander Smiths. Check our stuff out.
And you can Gmail us.
At Commander Smiths.
Hey, there we go. And then you can Patreon us. No, you can't do that yet. Lowery's going to be working on that. Yeah. All right. So Blizzard's done. We're done.
I think we're going to get another Blizzard.
Why do you think that?
I'm going to...
You're going to declude.
Don't steal my joke! Just because I did it to you, you don't have to just
like,
pay me back instantly.
You should totally do that during the cast. Okay, I'll do it. And then you just jump on it and steal it right away.
I'll be honest, I forget a lot of what I say. That's why I re-listen to this, and I'm like, yeah. That was pretty smart of me.
Funny. A lot of times when I'm re-listening to it, I'm like, I've told you that. Where I hear your little banter or what you say, and I'm like, I didn't catch that when you said it the first time. It's pretty funny. Good stuff. All right, that should do it for this week. We will see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.
Did that all while I was itching my eye.
You are a pro.
Don't even need to see when I'm talking.
Yeah. I hate it when I have my eyes closed. My it slurs.
You're like, okay, I can talk again. My eyes are.
I can see. Let's talk again.